Right. How you feeling?
I'm really enjoying myself, my dude.
Yeah.
Having a good one. How are you enjoying yourself?
I'm enjoying myself up until today, actually. Well, I'm still enjoying myself. I just don't like the end game. Like the aspirational content. How much of that have you engaged with?
I'd like Pit 73. I've got 3 of the 7 Ubers down. I got my first Uber unique yesterday.
Nice. So how much of the temporary, oh sorry, master crafting have you done then?
So I'm at 10 out of 12 on my one-handed. Everything else is like in the second tier, pretty much.
That's pretty good, but I'm assuming most of those have not hit the stats you want, right?
Some of them have, some of them haven't. Some of them are kind of mid. So I don't, I haven't perfectly rolled everything, no. But some of them are going okay. What I do, I guess, is like reset the first roll, like do the first roll, and if you don't get what you want on the first of the 4, then you just reset it, and then wait for that first one to hit before you reset the whole thing again.
Yeah, no, I feel that. So I did that. I didn't bother resetting on the items that like I know I'm not going to keep for a long time. But goddamn. So you if you fail, you have to like do that, but it's cheaper to just run maximum of pits tier 30, right? To get the lowest tier material. Because if you do anything higher, yeah, anything higher, it's just gonna cost you money, so you're incentivized to engage with the less challenging content because of the gold cost.
Yeah, pretty much. That's so. I was running tier 30s for a while just to reset and then be able to see what I get on the first row. And now all the stuff's past the tier 3, except I'm waiting on a better version of the ring. Like the ring I have is not amazing. So I'm kind of waiting on better hunters in it, but I have to do Uber, what is it? Uber Lord Zier for that one today. So I'm trying to get Stygian Stones at the moment, which means I actually have to do the last bit of the season journey, which I think is, I think I have to get either rank 18 in the Wolf or get the Lilith down. And at that point, I'm on the next one.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just felt like as soon as I looked at it, higher tier content, I was in a position of just feeling like once you've done the reset, I had to farm lower tier content to do it over and over again. And if the second round hit, I would have to go back to that farming because running the pit would cost me money and feel more like I have to do this or I lose money. And that just felt so bad. And if you fail on the third one and you decide to reset, you have to start all the way over from the back of the bus with the lowest tier content. And it's like there's no incentivizing factors as to do higher difficulty of the pit, right? You don't have a higher chance of greater affixes. There's no loot that would be, interesting to look at. No mats, no gold, nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's only kind of for masterworking, as far as I can tell.
Oh.
I'm not ready yet.
Did you make it work?
I've been doing about this tier 70 or whatever. Though my only real complaint with the pit so far is the RNG and the bosses. You can get like Uber Lilith, and you can get
I'm not ready yet.
like 3 or 4 bosses at the same time. So you're like avoiding Tomb Lord while you're avoiding Uber Lilith, while you're avoiding like all of the other ones.
Yeah.
Be kind of brutal. I feel like there should be a pretty easy solution to a lot of the complaints, which is okay. The higher tiers also drop like a decent amount of the lower tier mats, at least, so that way you're pushing the higher tier ones. They take more time to do the higher tier ones anyway. And then add some gold at the end of it. Add those things, and you'll feel better. I don't mind not perfectly rowing, my gear on the first bit, because I know once you perfect row all your gear, like that's basically the chase journey. And I think back to crafting PoE, it's like I don't know if I've ever got like a perfect rowed item in my 1,000 hours of playing. So when I think about it, it's like, well, do I need perfect rows? Not really. But do I feel bad when I'm gold gated? Yeah, I do. So I'm kind of like mixed about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that there's a lot of work behind getting the like the highest end item. I don't mind that being troublesome or time requirement. Like I don't mind that at all. I just feel like it's kind of crazy when it comes to the amount you have to get. And that's where my problem starts emerging when it comes to the discussion of it, right? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, but a mirror item, not many people have a mirrored item, so that should take a long time. I mean, I'm one of those people that craft a lot of mirror items in PoE. And the reason that is so exciting is because all of that time and work investment provides such a crazy difference compared to not having an item like that. And the difference between a perfect item versus a non-perfect item, we're talking about, you know, a very, very small difference in the end. And you have to do that on all your gear pieces if you want to min-max it.
Is that just a necro thing? Because if I row a perfect item on the druid, like the difference is enormous for me. Because for instance, like my best stat is chance to cast a double tornado, which is quite literally 2x my DPS. And when I go from the basic version and then it hits a greater affix, I go from like, you know, 30% chance to cast tornado to like 54% chance or whatever it is. So that's like pretty big. So if I get that 4x, it's actually pretty enormous for me. I can get double tornadoes basically guaranteed, and that 2x is my DPS.
Yeah, but I mean, you can get the first upgrade and the second upgrade on that fairly easy. The real grind is going from having 2 of those upgrades on the same mod to 3 of them, right? So I think 2 of them is a pretty good chase. It's the third one that is crazy, because you can hit the tempering mods. So you have 5 mods. So every upgrade you have to hit 1 out of 5 3 times in a row. And any of those 2 that later ones failing, you have to restart the entire process, right? That's kind of crazy with how low a chance it is and how much investment it is. We just had one guy in our group that finished a plus with 3 hits on a golem mastery chest. He spent almost 500 million gold doing that. And I don't even want to ask him how much time he spent farming the material. It's 1 in 125 tries. It's like, okay. That's a lot of grind to do that. And the difference is, you know, 2 golem mastery passives, right? Or is it 1 even? Compared to...
So what do you think the solution is then? So you don't like the material and go the acquisition. Do you think it's a numbers issue? Do you think they need to turn it up? Do you want the lower materials dropped at the higher tier rift, or how do you solve this issue?
So there's a lot of solutions, a lot of suggestions, depending on who you're asking. I think that whatever solution that needs to be in place has to be very careful to not make people only want to grind the pit. So let's say you add material drops or more items or gold drops in there. Suddenly you have eliminated the entire desire to do anything but the pits. But at the same time, I feel like incentivizing people to engage with harder content is a better way to do it. So like, I think increase the pit tier should increase the percent chance of a greater affix from a pairing is enough to make going harder difficulty to chase down better dropped items in terms of quality is a good way without making the game drop you more of the items. I don't mind gold being a gating factor. I mean, I kind of feel forced into trading, sure, but it's like going elsewhere to farm those materials is not a bad thing. Same thing with like Angel Breath, for example. I ran out of that recently, and I've just been sitting in Hell Tides right now to try to get some more up so I can keep crafting. So that allows me to have this diversity. But like the resource cost from the pits, I don't mind it being a gold cost if you upgrade the material. But downgrading them shouldn't have any gold cost. Then they don't have to make the higher tiers give us the lower tier as well. You can just have 1-to-1 of trading the higher tier
Yeah, it's
currency.
an easy enough way to do it. I think removing the gold cost for the downgrading of materials would make sense. Not a problem with that. I don't really seem to have an issue with like how long it takes to get perfect gear personally, because I mean, the game was suffering from a lack of like things to do, and the leveling's pretty fast. So I feel like if we shrink the time it takes to get perfect gear, we shrink the time it takes to do leveling, we shrink the cost of everything. I mean, we're like a week, less than a week into the season, right? If I feel like it'd be weird if people already had perfect gear at this point without trading.
Yeah, no, I definitely can agree with that. I just feel like the incentive to running pit is tier 61. Anything above that is for ego, right? Tier 61, you get the highest tier mats. and anything above that is completely irrelevant. You don't have anything that
Do you not get more of the materials for the higher tiers?
I believe you get a tiny bit more. Yes, it's a
So
very
if you can
small
blast
number.
through it at the same time, then
Yeah, like that's the only feature. And if you need a lower tier, now you have to run either waste gold, run the higher tier to then waste gold, or you just run a lower tier to get the initial starting material, right? Or you run out of angel breath and you have to sit in hell type for a couple of hours. And
yeah,
it's like,
the bundled herbs, they're all, is angel breath not included within, like you can pick it up elsewhere? Like didn't that used to be a flower you could pick up? Can you
I
not
don't know.
find it, or do you have to get it through the hell tides?
It says it's a rare herb found sometimes from harvest nodes and resplendent chests. And most of it is dropping from just doing the maiden in Helltide. Like I just did one Helltide round and I just got 125 from that.
Too bad.
Yeah, it's
I'm
kind of
doing the
fun.
hell tide only for the rep at the moment.
Oh, the Iron
After
Wolf?
the rep, there's, yeah, and I'm on the very last tier here, trying to
Yeah.
get the stone so I can finish the last of the Uber bosses.
I don't know, I just feel like I feel like there needs to be an incentive to engage with harder content other than the increase of the material itself. But then again, like if they remove the cost of downgrading it, then it will feel better because then the higher quantity of drop will also feel better, I guess.
I think the gold is what makes you feel bad, right? It's like the fact that
Yeah.
you're feeling starved all the time. I don't know if I necessarily want the masterworking to be faster, because
We're at
I
90
haven't
crit
really
speed
done
with that
like that much
necrobug
pit,
and it's 30 more
I'm about
mass
to be
than you
able
get
to get my
61.
two-handed completely finished.
That's quite big,
And maybe I
actually.
didn't get the
That's
exact
fair.
perfect rows I
That's
want,
fair. That is a
but
noticeable
I feel like
difference.
getting perfect
If you can
rows
clear that fast enough,
shouldn't
then
exactly
absolutely.
be
That's a good take,
expected on the
actually,
first
Katsina.
pass through. So if you get the process to not feel bad of leveling the pass throughs in the gear, like getting it 1 to 12 maxed out, if you get that process to feel fine and fluid, then I'm okay with the gear, like having RNG and taking multiple attempts. Which I think majority of the complaints I'm seeing at the moment are associated to gold cost, I believe.
Yeah. I think that, like, just removing the gold cost of downgrading the material will make people feel like they're doing the harder content is still beneficial because they can just, when they need to reset an item, they can just flip some of that material down. And that's not going to cost them a bunch of gold. Because right now, the gold cost is so crazy to do that you're just winning more on just saying, oh, well, I'm just going to spend the next 4 hours grinding a low tier content.
Yeah, gold is the thing I'm bottlenecked on basically as well. I mean, I only have like 17 million gold right now.
But you're doing
And
solo self-found?
No, I
Okay.
haven't. I played one Uber Durio rotation with somebody, or normal Durio rotation with somebody.
160.
I haven't sold anything yet, so I haven't really been interacting with trading. So I think I don't know. Maybe I have a bad take on this, but like I inherently like it when currency is valuable in these in games that have trading. My issue doesn't derive from the fact that gold's difficult, because if we have enough gold, then we don't have a reason to trade. Like if I have enough gold and I'm also like a blaster or whatever you want to call it, and I'm up there with 30 of each uniques, I don't have a reason to dump those uniques into the market and try to get someone to buy it off me, because I have everything. I have the farming materials I need, I have the gold materials I need, I have everything. And maybe you have to cater to the people that want to play solo. It is a Diablo game, and I do understand that. But my issue doesn't come from the currency lag. It comes from the very poor structure in which trading exists. So what I would have to do is find a Discord or go to the forums or whatever the official trading website is and try to like trade that way, which maybe like a dozen people use. So I'm kind of okay with how it's in PoE, where there's actually, a somewhat automated trading system. An auction house would be dope, but I guess they're never going to do that, right? So I would prefer my gold to come from my drops become more meaningful because I'm getting gold from them, as opposed to I'm just handed a fuckload of gold and here you go. No, gold is no longer something that we care about in the game. Like I feel like there's only ever going to be one way or another, which is gold is either you have too much or you have too little. Like, I don't really think they're going to be able to get the balance of, oh, you have just enough gold where it's slowly coming in exactly the right amount. Like, I don't think that's possible. I think it's going to be like
No.
you have a fuckload of gold, or you have no gold. And then maybe we can make the drops that we're getting be more valuable, so that way you still are getting gold income, but it adds another element to the game.
Yeah. I think that gold is really hard, like you said, to balance in general, simply because right now we're more, it's more in the catering aspect of, hey, you do carry runs for people for millions upon millions of gold, and or you sell sell items. That's how you accumulate wealth, and then you utilize that. Like the majority of the gold I got is I was about to say handouts, but that's the second biggest one I have. The biggest one was selling, you know, living steels, distilled fears, and exquisite bloods. I think I sold some for like 72 million gold or something, and that's kind of like kept me afloat, just selling that. So that was fine. But if they fix the gold issue in terms of the pit for the scaling of the material, I think what's needed is, like I mentioned earlier, like some sort of impactful change to the drop rewards you get for doing it outside of just a higher quantity of the material. Like increased chance of greater affix gear would be a great way to make people feel like, hey, I'm being rewarded for harder content.
Like, as you go up on the pit, the odds of you getting a greater affix go up, and when you get to like plus 100 or something, you're guaranteed a double greater affix or something at 100. Like, I could see that being pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
And the reason I like that too is because it also, maybe there's more of those items in the game, but then people still need gold. So then you can take those items that you're acquiring, because you've earned the ability to acquire those items, and now you can sell them for gold to other people too. I like the idea of acquiring things that you can use to get wealth, as opposed to granting wealth itself.
Yeah. Now I think that's a good way, and it doesn't diminish the value of boss runners and selling uniques. Like, just make it something simple as you know, the certain breaking points or increased percent chance. Like, all of the items you drop from the pit at a 100 has at least one greater affix on every item. Suddenly that alone is now a very good feature. If you get a double greater affix, that's, you know, maybe an upgrade for you at this point.
Yep, this is something that RuneScape does very well with their economy, which is, as you progress your character, you're unlocking like more ways, like more strategies in which you can acquire things that will grant you wealth.
Yeah.
So I quite like that style as well. It's like, oh, you know, I'm broke, but there's not really like anything in the game that just prints gold outside of high alchemy. So the way it works is, it's like, oh, well, I'm broke, but okay, well, maybe I need to get a character that's like strong enough to go acquire these types of items, and then I'll use that to acquire gold or something. I know we're talking about completely different games, because this is an ARPG, which is mostly played solo, versus an MMO that is very economy reliant. So I understand that, but I guess I'm slightly biased because I really enjoy economies in games. Trading is something that, for me, can add another element to the game of making items exciting or convertible to other types of excitement. Something I feel about PoE also is like, okay, divines in the game or chaos orbs in the game are needed. Like, people use them and burn through them pretty quickly, and that's basically our currency in the game, right?
Yeah.
So the sink of that goes pretty high, and the leagues in which the divine orbs are, there's a million of them, the economy feels fucked. You know what I mean? So I feel the same thing about, okay, maybe this is a starvation league, like for us in Diablo. Maybe that's what this is. It's a starvation league, plus there's more to do. And there might be a balance at some point in the middle. But I also think about the leagues in PoE where it's like everything is juiced to the tits. Like, you can have as many divine orbs as you want. Everyone's got the mage blood. And I don't know if I necessarily like that either. So I think the getting greater affixes at the higher tiers is a good call out. I think the removing the gold cost to shrink, you know, a better item for a worse one's probably a good call out. And then at that point, maybe I'm just good, you know?
Huh. Yeah, I mean, it's also the other aspect of the making the pits actually drop you the greater affix items. And that is the idea that I would like a purpose for what I'm supposed to use that Giga Gear for. If I can do a Pit 100, why would I try to push for a pit 125? Like, would that only be to increase the amount of mats I get so I can upgrade the gear to maybe do a 130? Like, is that the goal? Where I mean, that could be an aspirational goal to see how far you can push it. But if the idea of increasing the difficulty and handling that difficulty is also connected to, hey, I will be able to have a higher chance of getting myself upgrades by doing that, it just feels better. The purpose or incentive for me to engage with that content feels better.
I agree with that. Like having higher tiers have something, you know, locked behind it. I mean, it's like when you go from 30 to 50 to like 70 or whatever, 60 or whatever, in order to get the other ones, like that has meaningful progression.
So what's your take on? Sorry.
Go on. No, go on.
What's your take on the tempering? Like, you can have this 2 or 3 affix item, you temper it, and then it's bricked, just like that. And now you have to find another 2 or 3 greater affix item.
It's a double-edged sword for me. One of which is if I couldn't brick it, then I don't like deterministic things typically, where it's like I know 100% for a fact I can make this item into exactly what I want, no matter what. Like very often I don't like that because it kind of removes some of like the surprise of the items. Like there is something in me that wants the possibility of being disappointed, and I don't know if that's everyone, but I can only speak for myself, which is without the ability for the item to not turn into what I wanted it to turn into, when it turns into what I wanted it to turn into, then there won't be excitement. Like if I know for a fact, okay, well, the worst thing that can happen is it's going to take me twice as long, then the only time that I'm actually excited is when I acquire that drop to begin with. And then it's like, oh, I got the base item I needed. We're good to go. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm kind of okay with an item not being able to be 100% perfect, you know, guaranteed. I understand in PoE, we do like scouring orbs, which is pretty cool. But the cost associated with being able to take an item that's a good base item and bring it into something else is pretty crazy high, enough to almost make it not worth it to do it on that item literally anyway. So very often it feels like somewhat balanced to me, you know what I mean? Like you go all the way in on crafting, and what you're actually losing from the item is not that the item was bricked, but it's the currency it costs to make that item is the difference in PoE, is the actual value, as opposed to the item itself has the value. So you have to be able to lose the value somewhere. And in Diablo, the value comes from the item, not from the currency to craft the item. So it's like, I don't know if I necessarily want me to not lose the value. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that, I think the enchanting system allows you to rampantly increase the cost and try to go for better rolls, or, you know, whatever sources you're trying to achieve, right, with your gear. Like, I'm trying to roll an offhand, and I'm at the point where I'm almost at the cap where it's going to cost me 3.5 million gold per try now. I think the tempering could have a similar system, but still have this limit of how many tries you have. But instead of every time you temper it, it's just going to guaranteed switch over to that specific new mod that is completely random. It would give you the option of, hey, you roll this, would you like to get this, or would you rather keep the one you had before? Because there are multiple sources of mods you can have. Like, look at minions, for example. You can have minion attack speed, or you can have skelly mage damage, from one of the same type of craft. And one is better than the other, but I have items that ended up with the one of those two, and I have one more tempering craft on it, and I don't want to use it, because what if I hit golem damage or something else that I'm not going to want at all?
Yeah, I'm in the same situation. I have items that have a temper left that I'm not going to use as well.
Yeah, so I mean, if you then have the option of, hey, I got mod that will scale my build, but it's not the best one, I can keep this, and you can still use up my attempts on the item, but have the option of saying,
you know how
hey,
I solve this? Now, here's how I solve this. Instead of removing that problem, make something else that fixes that problem. So instead of like, okay, let's make it easier to get the gear you want, add another thing in the pit. Okay, now tier 100 pit gives you an item that allows you to re-add tempers back onto it. This is how PoE solves it. There's a million different currencies that do different things for different scenarios. So it adds another thing for you to do. So now tier 100, you get a reroll for tempers item that can drop, and you get so there's like, oh shit, now I have to go farm 100s. I haven't got to 100s yet. Okay, well when I do get to 100s, then I can save this item. Like that's how you solve that.
Yeah. But that also means, you know, more and more items that's inevitably going to take up inventory slot, but make the game more and more hard to understand for the new and newer players, which they're very, very careful with not doing either. So maybe that would interfere with that aspect of the game for them.
Like I'm okay with the game having problems to solve as long as they give me ways to solve it. And I feel like that's an opportunity to add additional content on.
Yeah.
Because if
That's fair.
if the problem is if they take our feedback and then they just, okay, well you know you need these things to happen for you to get the gear you want, and they just give those to us, then they're really taking the opportunity to give us a better gameplay loop out. So that's part of the reason where I'm like very careful about like, well, I don't really want to send the feedback. I just want a shitload of gold. Because if I do that, now any opportunity we had to generate gold, maybe they make something else. Maybe they make a gold farm. Like, what if they decide, okay, instead of just everyone gets more gold now, or we reduce what costs gold, maybe they can make a goblin loot cave. Maybe goblins now can summon a fuckload of gold for you. This is how you got it in D3, right? Like, there's other ways. You could have a goblin pit. Why don't you just make stuff that solve the problems that's being created in the game? And then you can have more content to do. Now, I don't know if they can generate content that fast, but I would sure rather have like ways to solve these problems in the game with a variety of things to do than just have no problems to solve at all.
That's fair. I mean, I guess in the end, they have to decide how they want the high-end game aspirational content loop to looks like. Because right now, you know, obviously trading means you just buy the base items, and then you pray the temporary doesn't brick, and if it bricks, you have to buy another item, and that's all behind gold. The best way to get gold is rotas, or you sell items, or you do carries. Soul Self, obviously you have to farm it, which means you do whispers. You either get unlucky, get 2 to 3 million gold, or you get a chaos option, you get around 10 million plus minus in gold per 10 sets of, you know, missions for whispers. So those are the options, right? But that's like the end game loop, and if you fail, you'll have to redo the whole farm of the materials in the pit, go for a lower tier, unless you want to waste your gold and doing lowering it to do it that way. So I mean, we talked about like the pit changes and some solutions to that end, but in the end, they have to decide: do they want people to consistently sit in the pit, or do they want people to engage with different types of mechanics? Like right now, I am literally spending my second health tide now that I'm just doing the maiden over and over and over and over again, so I can get a material to re-roll one of my items and have material for the next item I'll get. That's all I'm doing right now. And then when I'm done with that, I'll do low tier pits so I can have enough to reset the items to upgrade them. And then I'll do the second tier pits so I can do the second batch. Then I'm doing 61 plus for the last one. That's like the loop I'm in right now, and I'm not sure I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
because I really like the game up until this
first
point.
edition. It's the first edition of like an in-game loop, basically. It's not a complete in-game loop. You're used to having like a million different ways around to solve each problem. If you got to craft this type of item, you can go get this type of thing. Okay, I need a fracture for this one. Okay, I'll use this league mechanic for this one. Okay, I'll trade for this. I'll use this base. And this. Like, you're used to your knowledge meaning something for you. But right now, you're in a mindless grind, which you don't enjoy. But you solve the mindless grind by actually adding things that your knowledge and understanding in the game will actually matter. And some of that is adding different ways of which to solve each problem. Right now, there's only one way to solve the problem you're talking about. Go get more gold. Go get more temporary. So go get more. Like, that's it. So if you mix up the ways in which you can acquire these, then your knowledge of, hey, well, I'm a min-maxer, and I know that the best way to do it is this way actually matters to you, and you're going to feel more fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and also a purpose behind it, right? So like I mentioned, without the higher tier pits giving me more than just higher quantity of the material that I'm supposed to be utilizing or spamming over and over again to upgrade the gear with the master crafting, is just there to get me more of that. I think there just needs to be more a structured rewards gain that incentivizes player to engage with harder content So there's a purpose behind it. I think that's the biggest issue right now with the endgame loop, at least.
So if they added, just out of curiosity, if they added a 100 plus pit, if they added something where what it does is now it allows you to re-roll your tempers or re-get your temper count back up, or +1 temper re-roll for, if you get a stone or something in it, is that something that you would actually enjoy from the pit? You think that would give you a reason to do the higher tier pits?
I'm not ready yet.
I think that having like a super rare currency that would allow you to re-roll the tempers would be a pretty cool thing,
I'm not ready yet.
Because it would be like the kind of item that either first that would be worth a lot, but it would be that item you would use on that perfect triple grade graphics gear you have. Because imagine how bad it would feel if you have a triple grade graphics and both your tempers fail. I mean, first off, if you bought one of those type of items, they would be hilariously expensive. And if you found one, it would be like the craziest thing ever. And then both temper works, and it is now worse than a non-grade graphics item. I don't know. I like the idea of having tools to solve these potential situations. That feels like a good middle ground to making the system rewarding and engaging.
I need more time.
What's your dream scenario? So you have an issue, and Blizzard says, okay, we hear your issue. Here's how we're solving this. And what is your dream scenario in which they say they solved it which way?
Like all of it?
Yeah, like your primary issue here, of kind of feeling like you're not really enjoying the in-game loop. You're getting bottlenecked on resources. Like, what do you, if they went out and said, okay, we hear you. Like, here's what we're doing to solve it. What do you want to hear that they say they're doing to solve it?
I would say removing the cost for downgrading materials and combine that with increasing the percent chance of greater affixes on loot gained from the pits. I'm still incentivized to gaining gold, and gold would still be an issue for that matter, but less so with this main problem that I have. And when it comes to materials like Angel Breath, it's fine that you have to go out of your way and do something else, such as health ties, to get those materials. But I think that those two features would solve my biggest problem. What about you? What's your biggest problem?
I don't know if I have too many problems right now. I think the stone's drop rate could be buffed. In my opinion, the stone drop rate is very low. And I have all these boss material mats, and I don't want to use them because I feel like it would be better to do them as Ubers. And so I'm not using them, but I'm sitting on them until whenever the stones decide to drop, which basically means I have to do the season journey to get them, and then pray that they drop in the thing. And once I have fully maxed gear, and now it's the Uber hunt, and really what it boils down to is I'm having to do pit for literally just the stones, and I could give a fuck about what else drops in the pit. I can see that coming very quickly. So for me, I think immediately the thing I think of is I would like the drop rate of the Stygian stones to probably be higher. Would be my immediate thought process. And then besides that, like I mentioned, I think it'd be pretty cool if we had a way of adding additional tempers.
I need more time.
I would be
Like additional tries?
Yeah, you can like add, like a fucking chaos orb or whatever. Like you can, you get something that allows you to be able to unlock additional opportunities by which you can temper. I think that could be pretty cool, personally. And maybe that's at the higher tier pit, and it wouldn't really mess with any of the balance of anything. It would just give you an extra incentive in the higher tier thing, and would allow for that. In terms of the gold, I like your idea about the gold reduction. In terms of if you're downgrading materials in particular, that does make sense to me. Outside of that, so far I'm feeling pretty good about it. I don't have too many complaints. I think the stones are pretty much my largest one at the moment. And that's primarily it. Maybe I'll hit more complaints as I start to max out gear more. I'll feel the squeeze more, and then maybe I'll become unhappy. But so far, the process of getting there has been feeling pretty good.
I think that's the big part, right? The entire process, like I've been genuinely except for the game launch. I mean, with all the quirks, everything was new, so that carried a lot of my enjoyment to the game. But besides that, this is the first time I've really enjoyed playing Diablo 4 all the way up to where I'm at right now. And the only thing that is starting to hammer down on my enjoyment is the end game loop, which again isn't new, like we talked about. And there's, you know, they need to get some balance stuff sorted and get this right, based on obviously on feedback and all that. So I mean, I'm pretty excited for the future of what happens from here, but most importantly, the progression up until this point is so good. I can only imagine how like the casual and, you know, more casual gamers are enjoying this game now compared to before. Like, it's night and day difference.
For sure. I mean, we've already got like 50 hours into the game or something, so I think a lot of people haven't hit this point yet. But I think it's going to be about what I was calling, which is probably a 2-week season, which is more than basically any season. Maybe season 2 people got some good time out, but I think it's about a 2-weeker.
Yeah. Now I know we talked about in was the last Tavern Talk. We I was hoping I'd get 1.5 weeks of enjoyment. I think that I'm getting at the very least 1 week, maybe a few more days, maybe touching 1.5 week. That's kind of like my projection of what I'm looking at right now. And if they fix the end game replayability of it, I think that's where the big things will be able to push that to a 2-week enjoyment for me at least.
Have you been enjoying it enough to like try any other characters or anything? Or are you pretty much Minion Andy only forever?
Well, they changed a lot of minion stuff, so I did take a detour on shadow builds to update the guides and whatnot. I have a couple things I want to try out besides that, but I mean, minions, man, it's like they're finally really good. I have to take my opportunity to play them before they got them or something.
You get any Uber unique drops yet?
No, 0 Uber unique drops so far. There's only one Uber unique I want to use though, and I know you have it.
What, Tyrellus? Is that the one you want?
Yep.
Oh, dude, I was so stoked when this dropped. It's arguably the only Uber unique I can actually use. As a druid.
I know Shaker can work to some degree for this build, but it's like the might, the max rest, the DR allows me to replace an aspect power quite easily for it. Whereas Shaker doesn't really do that for me.
So what happened with me is I wouldn't have been able to replace. I would not have been able to replace the werewolf damage reduction aspect, but because this one's got DR on it, it lets me actually be able to do that.
I like the max rest as well. This is worth so much for defensive purposes.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I love it. Actually, very useful.
For sure.
Actually, getting max res in D4 is like, you know, unheard of because they don't have any of those stats, right?
Yeah.
So it feels pretty good.
Absolutely. So, what's your build that you're playing right now?
I'm playing Werenado.
Yeah.
And it feels okay. I'm not gonna say it feels amazing. I feel like I have like an issue of I really don't have as much DPS as I would like. Like I feel like I'm doing good DPS, but I need attack speed. So like I don't have the affixes I need. Like I have a +1 in Venom, I need a +2. I need an attack speed on an amulet, which I don't have. So it's like I have DPS, but I don't have like enough DPS that the Uber bosses are, you know, getting dropped pretty fast for me. So at the moment, if you watch my screen right now, you can see I'm doing Lilith while we're chatting, and I'm trying to get her down, and I have damage, but it's not like enough for this fight. Is what it feels like.
But didn't they also make Lilith a lot harder?
Maybe I heard something about that, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. I've done Lilith on a Barb and a Necro, but I never did on a Druid.
Wonder how my damage versus Super Lilith would look right now. I'm gonna go find out.
Probably Shredder, right?
I have no idea.
Did they fix the Holy Bolts yet?
Not that I know of. It is ridiculous. I had a boss in like pit 70 plus something that had some ads, and then the ads died. and the boss just lost 80% to its HP.
Yeah, that's crazy. Dude, there's some people going to be sad boys when they realize it's a bug build.
Yeah, no, it feels kind of crazy. But I don't know. It's like it's obviously a lot of bugs and issues in the game still. That needs to be sorted on top of some balancing. But I mean, I personally feel very excited for for the game moving forward, and that's saying a lot compared to how it was before this stage, because it was not looking good before this.
Hope has been recovered, basically.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So instead of oh well, who cares? It's like, oh cool, okay, I'm actually gonna look forward to each season and seeing exactly what we're dealing with.
Yeah. Now the holy bolt strategy. There was something about Thorn. Someone was talking about that being bugged as well. I'm not sure what that was about though.
I need time to do that.
But someone mentioned that being bugged.
I've heard a lot of things are bugged at the moment. I couldn't tell you which. I'm busy trying to make my build work at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to kill shit. It's hard for me to get the attack speed. Feels like very hard to get attack speed these days.
That was so frustrating. I know all of us guide writers had to go through a very, very, very annoying process. I'm still going through it, where we had to restructure the entirety of all our temper mods and our core modifier priorities and all of our guides, because they just decided that, you know what, attack speed shouldn't exist on weapons. Like, and there were a couple of other things that we just moved around, and there was nothing in the patch notes about it. So everything was just turned into such a weird shit show. But I don't know. I think that the biggest problem with like the modifiers of items is that there's like this necessity of your core attributes, life, and then attack speed, crit strike chance, crit damage, vuln damage, and then a plethora of options for lucky hit scalings or lucky hit chance as well. But you only have 3 modifier slots to put your mods on. And then obviously, unless you want to run Juggernaut, you have to put armor. So now you have to decide which stats you want to go for. I feel like a lot of diversity and options were taken away when they went to 4 mods to 3. Though I do prefer the current structure, but it just feels kind of awkward when Lucky Hit was kind of destroyed that way. These quirks or extra additions of things.
People are saying another bug under Skeleton Mage. If you select upgrade 2, you also get upgrade 1.
Yeah, on Reapers. We generate corpses is always going to be favorable in my opinion. But the first option that gives us a lot of cooldown recovery is also given to you.
You get attack speed on rings? No, right? It's
Yes.
only amulet? Or you
No,
can?
ring. Yeah, you can.
I'm like trying to get it on rings because I don't have it any other way right now.
Yeah.
All my gold is going to the enchants. I'm getting fucked here. Nope, I'm getting boned over. I'm going to lose all my gold to this.
On Lilith?
Yeah, I thought they... No, onto the... I'm trying to get... There we go. I finally got attack speed. I dumped 900 HP for 9.8% attack speed.
Yeah.
Because I was thirsty for it. Not doing any damage. I'm thinking about dropping +1 in Venom for more attack speed also. Because I have only +1 in Venom. It costs 1.6 million per enchant reroll right now.
How much?
2.3 for the amulet. Okay, now it's 2.9, and I have 0 gold now. So I thought they capped the amount of enchant gold it was. Now it's 3 mil. I got fucked.
That's a lot.
I'm not ready yet.
I need like a greater affix amulet that has attack speed. That's what I really need. I have greater affix amulet that's got resource cost reduction right now, but I need attack speed.
They're pretty decent damage on Lilith. Isn't too bad.
Are you able to kill her?
I got to phase 2 now, but bit rough. I haven't done this since a couple of seasons.
Yeah, fair enough.
I do like the increased damage on the waves because I don't have blood mist on this build. I just took 2 of them and I was actually able to survive it, so that was a good feel.
And the prisms are the one thing that would be nice to get more of too.
I'm not ready yet.
Alright, time to see how much the attack speed actually helped. I'm gonna try Lilith one more time before I go farm for the Uber bosses.
I need more time.
Oh, this is rough. I died on second
Get
phase.
bodied.
No blood mist is kind of rough. Not gonna lie. Oh shit. Oh.
I can't get to second phase yet. I died to the like 25% left when she's jumping.
No, it's easy to get to second phase with this. I think it's just that those balls they rip you apart as a necromancer, but blood mist just fixes that entire phase for you.
Yeah, Blood Mist is the goat for this. I'm feeling pretty bad about doing Lilith with Druid right now. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I feel you in that one. All right, I'm gonna wrap some stuff up, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it, see what you thought about the end game and whatnot. So it was good talking.
All right, good chatting with you, boy.
I'll talk to you later, man.
Cheers, brother. Enjoy
Cheers.
your day.
You too. All right, that was DM. Had a little chit chat